Thank you for having me. Of course, this is how the occupation has been behaving for the last 76 years. They neglect the Palestinian prisoners' health, they torture them, they subject them to polluted materials and substances to make them have cancer, and they torture them and beat them. They want to kill the prisoners. Israel does not abide to the international law or to the humanitarian Geneva Conventions about war prisoners. They also do not allow the Red Cross to enter the jails to see and to examine the Palestinian prisoners. This is a systematic policy by Israel since decades. Now the world is seeing it because after the release of prisoners, we could all see how their health is deteriorating, and many of them have cancers. And if you look at, investigate about the reports about the Palestinian prisoners' situation in Israel, a high percentage is affected with cancer, have a cancer disease. This is an evidence that Israel is using some sort of substance and pollution that would escalate or deteriorate the health of prisoners and have cancers. Of course, the Palestinian prisoners ministry has documented that, and have recorded and documented witnesses and testimonies by the Palestinian prisoners saying that clearly that Israel is intentionally killing and torturing and trying to destroy the health of Palestinian prisoners.
Mm-hmm. Now, we've seen Israeli forces suppressing gatherings celebrating the return of detainees. Why does the Israeli continue to treat these exchanges as security threats rather than humanitarian obligations?
Israel wish to imprison all the Palestinians. It's up to them. They don't want to come to realization of a peaceful coexistence between Palestine and the Israelis. We have been very clear about our demands. We are demanding for what is natural and right for a human being, which is freedom and freedom of expression and our independent state. Israel does not deal with the Palestinians as equally a human being. They look at Palestinians as subhuman beings. And that kind of policy, that kind of mentality must be confronted by the international community as well as by the Israeli rational voices. They have to say and speak loudly that this does not represent a rational or a humane mentality, and it's not fruitful for Israel in the long run. It's only presenting Israel as a pariah state, as a dictatorship, as a tyranny, and as apartheid.
Mm-hmm. Now, the Israeli newspaper Haaretz has published statements from hostage families blaming Netanyahu's policies for delays in releases. That, besides, of course, Hamas halting the exchange process because of what they spoke of the Israeli violations of this ceasefire. Now, do you think Israeli domestic politics are playing a role in these violations?
So your question is how is the internal politics of Israel is pressuring that on Netanyahu?
How is the Israeli domestic politics playing a role in those violations that are taking place?
Well, we have two forces inside Israel. We have the far right, and unfortunately it's the loudest, the strongest, which does not care. And want further aggression, further occupation, further apartheid, disregard to any laws or human rights. And we have prisoners' families who want to see their families released. And some voices within Israel that realize that what Israel is doing is a genocide, it's a crime against humanity, and it needs to stop. And also there's the rational voices within, I believe, the left power in Israel, still not as much strong as we wish or as we think they could, but they do believe that where are we going from here? Because what the far right is presenting is an endless cycle of wars and aggression and a plan to ethnic cleansing the Palestinians from their lands. That is only going to bring us decades back to the full Palestinian revolution that before 1994, before Oslo. And that's, of course, not for the benefits of anyone, neither the Israelis, nor the Palestinians, nor the Arab world, nor the Western world. So the rational voices now are start realizing that this ethnic cleansing plan is impractical, it's ridiculous, it cannot be adopted as a serious plan, but we have to discuss a way forward, how we could live in coexistence and peace. We have the two-state solution. Now what we ask from the Israeli society, the rational voices, the camp of peace inside Israel, to pressure their government that to accept the two-state solution as the only viable solution that would make a sustainable peace.
Now, reports today revealed that Hamas has reiterated its refusal to govern Gaza and at the same time will continue the three phase of the ceasefire after the war, and that Egypt is intensifying its diplomatic efforts to form a temporary committee to oversee aid and the reconstruction of Gaza. Now, given that rebuilding costs are estimated to exceed $53 billion, the minimal, what role do you see for the Palestinian Authority in this process, and what role do you see for the international community at large?
First and foremost, I would like to thank the Egyptian government, the Egyptian president, for their brave position, as well as the King of Jordan brave position in refusing the forceful displacement of the Palestinian people from Gaza and the ethnic cleansing plan that is being presented, and in contradiction to every common sense and all human law, and by President of the United States. It's very saddening that we hear that. Of course, the plan between the Palestinian Authority and the Arabs is forming. It has been under preparation for a long time now. We are in full coordination with the Egyptian leadership and with Jordan and the Arab world, as well as with the international bodies. We do realize the straightforward fact that the legitimacy and the legitimate government must go back to rule Gaza, to save the people, to prevent any further escalation, and to remove all pretext from the table in front of Netanyahu, who went an endless war and a genocidal war, and to expand that war to include also other Arab region and other regions in the area. Now, Hamas do realize that the international law and the Arab world cannot deal with a government where Hamas is in power in Gaza. The international funds for reconstruction cannot take place with Hamas in power. What we have discussed with our brothers in Egypt and Jordan, that a government that is does not belong to any political party, that is from experts, technocrats, to go to administer Gaza and put plans forward for relief and reconstruction and rebuilding the roads and the schools and everything. Of course, the Arab world and the EU does recognize the Palestinian Liberation Organization as the sole representative of the Palestinian people. So they do as well believe that only the PLO, which is represented in Palestinian lands by the Palestinian Authority, is the only viable and legitimate force or legitimate body to rule Gaza.
But what role will the Palestinian Liberation Organization or the Palestinian Authority would play in the reconstruction of Gaza and definitely the rest of the Palestinian territories? And what do you see for the role that should be played by the international community at large?
The Palestinian Authority is already playing a role. If you are aware
but at this very critical stage we're speaking about.
Yeah, they are already having a relief and emergency committee that is working right now, trying to give aid and shelter to the people who are homeless at the moment. They are trying to open roads in Gaza. As you know, there's employees in Gaza still working with the Palestinian Authority, and they are paying them for their salaries, and they are doing all the effort that they could with the little we have, of course, to relieve the people as we can. And of course, we have the education issue, which has been interrupted for the last 15 months. And now the government is putting plans forward to make an online education system. They already done it previously. Now they are continuing it and improving it. We are in communication with the international community, with Egypt, with Jordan, on how we could increase the relief, increase the aid. The international community role is, of course, now we need the financial aid to rebuild Gaza, as you said, it's more than $50 billion. This is massive destruction.
Yes.
Israel must be held accountable for that destruction.
Yes.
And the world need to put forward a policy, a political solution.
Very clear, Mr. Fattouh.